Happy New Comic Book Day, geeks, and welcome to issue 78 of the Script Heroes podcast. I'm Katie.
And I'm Joseph, and today we're going to be talking about Jumpscare issue 4, Minor Arcana issue 2, Batgirl issue 8, Laura Kinney Wolverine issue 7, Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion, The Moon is Following Us issue 10, Very Long Ago issue 2, and Something Beyond the Petrichor issue 1. Another 8-book week for us.
That's right. In the wake of Free Comic Book Day, though I don't think I guess Something Beyond the Petrichor is technically, but we're going to read that anyway. Make sure you
really starts next week.
Yes, oh dear. Get ready.
We jumped off.
Well, if you want to join us for that journey, hit subscribe to add us to your pull list, and let's jump into Batgirl.
Batgirl issue 8. The writer of the series is Tate Bromble of Christopher Chaos, House of Slaughter, and Green Lantern Dark. The artist is Isaac Goodhart of Christopher Chaos, Postal, and Eve of Extinction. The colorist is Mike Spicer, and the letter is Tom Napolitano. Katie, we have quite enjoyed this series, and we started the Lady Shiva section of it in the last
Shiva.
The Book of Shiva, this is part 2. How you feel?
Yeah, we've got this little 2-issue interlude. Or maybe it'll like just feed into the next
I think it's
arc,
more than 2-issue interlude because we get a very
that's fair.
these
two issues are actually reading the Book of Shiva, this journal that Shiva has written and given to Cass. And it's the first issue of it, I think, was incredibly strong, incredibly stylish, really insightful onto Lady Shiva's character. I feel like in this one I wasn't as jazzed about where her story went. I feel like it's a little weird that she kind of came to America and got into a bunch of shenanigans. Like, I don't know that this is, and I get that part of that is because she and her sister are growing apart, and like this is what her sister wanted, and that's kind of a big part of it. Is like, this doesn't fit Lady Shiva, but then I'm like, okay, so why are we doing it? I feel like the sister character was a really, really, really strong character, and I was really hoping that it was going to be something that we would get more mileage out of. But without spoilers for the end of the issue, I feel like maybe Cass is not going to be interacting with her, which is a bit of a bummer. I do think that their relationship is really well written, and I think that this situation that they're in does a great job of showing them growing apart in like a really realistic way. And I think it did a really great job of solidifying Shiva's character. I think there was a lot of opportunity for it to be like, oh, and Shiva did also fall in love with this other dude. And they like had a human connection. And I'm like, I like that she did not. I love that Shiva is a bitch all the way through. Like, she is no nonsense. She is focused on her mission. I feel like it's really good character for her, but also it makes it a little, it takes a little bit of the interest out of it, right? Like, there's only so much of a story you can tell about a character who's like so steadfastly against change for herself, and I think that maybe this second issue tried to stretch her out a little too far as we went along in her story.
That's fair. I quite like this issue. I do also want to immediately call out that the other dude is Richard Dragon, that Katie's just acting as like not a known character. And Ron Tiger is also in this issue, which I really did enjoy having the two of them pulled into it. Fun to see them at like a young, especially seeing Richard Dragon in that state was incredibly entertaining to me. I don't know. It was very funny to see him as like an up-and-coming martial artist instead of, like deadliest man in the world. Like, I don't know, that's like a fun play.
I guess
I enjoyed that. But yeah, I enjoyed the story a lot. I think that the idea, like, a lot of what you're saying is accurate, but I think that's actually what makes it interesting. Is like, I think that this issue kind of presents, and I'm going to try to make my point as best I can without spoiling the ending.
That's very fair. That's very fair.
Part of why it gets there. But I think this issue is meant to show, like, the pathway that Shiva almost went down and like could have went down before she inevitably didn't. And I think that like the point of that maybe you had left out is like, it's not so much that didn't happen because Shiva's so resistant to change, which she is obviously throughout the, but it's because something actually like ended up taking away the ability for her to change, or at least the track that she was on that seemed to be reaching an inevitable change for her.
I suppose I feel
like as I can without hitting.
it's hard not to talk about the very end of it, but I feel like throughout the entire issue there's a strong emphasis on her, like there's at no point a like softening of her, like it never feels like she is torn between these two worlds for me.
Yes, but I mean, I don't want to talk in circles around it.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I don't think it's necessarily that she's so. But she's clearly, through like her continued sense of being there, is essentially being like pulled into it, and yeah, that's lost the sound. Like, I can't really make the full without kind of.
No, you're so fair. You're so valid.
Yeah. But I also
do want to make sure we give a shout. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to just say, I think Isaac Goodard did in the last issue does again. Yep. The action is fucking phenomenal, man.
So good. That's what I was about to shout.
I don't think we could have picked a better artist for Lady Shiva than Isaac Goodard. Like, it works really well.
So well done.
Those like essentially like underground fighting ring pages, amazing. So up my alley. Utterly love those. Yeah. No, I quite enjoyed this issue as I did the last one. I don't know if I think we are getting another book of Shiva. Was my interpretation of where
maybe I think the tricky thing is we do get to the end of the journal, so the framing device of Shiva telling her story.
Yeah, I don't know.
At least at the
thing where like when she goes to where she's going to, which I also don't want to spoil, if like there's like another thing that'll kind of then lead into continuing it, just because both the modern day but also the flashbacks are kind of left on a cliffhanger. So I don't. I feel like we're getting
fair. It's tough for something to be a cliffhanger when we like know where the character is at the present. Like until we read the next issue, it's like, is it a cliffhanger or is it like, and now it's the character that you know, fill in the gap? Because
that's fair.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm interested to see where we go with it. At least on the cast sense, if we don't continue with more Shiva. But
yeah, dear listener, are you a fan of villain books like this? We're in the middle of an ongoing hero book, obviously, but we get this little interlude that really focuses on Lady Shiva. How do you feel about exploring the backstories of these villains beyond their own, kind of saying of it? It's an interesting thing because it really does humanize some villains, but it's a story that you know where the ending is going to be. Like, who that person is after the end of their story. So it's an interesting narrative task to write a villain book.
Yeah.
And do you like reading them? Is the question, I suppose.
But up next we have more big two. We're gonna jump over to Laura Kinney, Wolverine.
Laura Kinney, Wolverine, number 7. The writer here is Erica Schultz of Daredevil, Rat City, and Xena Warrior Princess. The artist is Giada Belviso of Jackpot and Black Cat, Miss Marvel, and Blood Hunters. The colorist is Rochelle Rosenberg, and the letterer is Corey Petit. Jay, we got a like amnesia plot kind of out of nowhere last month. And now we have the continuation of that, because Laura Kinney is built in these little like duology 2-shot arcs.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. The first issue wasn't, but it has been since then, I believe. Yeah. Which is why we were getting the ending in a 7.
Right.
Yeah. So this was an interesting issue, as I have like two minds about it, because there's like Is it like spoiler? Because technically, based on our usual rules, it's not spoilery to like, explain how she.
I don't think that's spoilery.
Okay.
I think that resolves very quickly.
So, I agree. So basically, we have the before and the after of that, and I have like a different mind about each of that. And by the way, it's the Brood that are behind this, who are not characters that I'm super familiar with. I don't know if you are.
No, of course not.
Okay. Yeah. Figured. But yeah, so front half on this amnesia, hallucination plot line, I am very disappointed in the way that it wrapped up
Same.
because Laura did nothing.
Nothing.
There
Yeah.
was no struggle, no like figuring things out and having to like get around the people who were trying to keep her in it or any of the interesting things that come with like
Yeah.
this, trope. Instead, her claws just come out and she realizes that she's Wolverine and like they let her leave after giving her like a nice moment to maybe join them. So that was highly disappointing for
Yeah.
me.
Agreed.
We then get to the Brood, which is I think a much stronger half than the front half. But it is something that without the context for them, I did feel a little lost and like I didn't really have the investment I needed in it,
Mm-hmm.
especially because when one and a third out of the 2 issues of this arc don't actually involve them at all, it doesn't work super well. I don't get
Yeah.
why the first issue like it feels like if we were going to come out of it this easy, this should have been the ending of the first issue,
Agreed.
and then you
Yeah.
should have had a full issue out of it with the Brood in this issue. Doing the whole issue in it works really well if what you're setting up is a long struggle to get out of it. That's not what happens,
No.
so I'm left a little unsatisfied by this issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it's also unfortunate that the Brood is like a kind of collective villain because that
Yeah.
meant that the struggle to escape them was really just like Gorefest Wolverine
Yeah, full
action,
minions.
which
Yeah.
is like fun to look at, but when you
Yeah,
didn't have
grab
any
them.
sort of struggle to get out of their mental prison, and then you don't really have any sort of struggle to get out of their physical prison, it's like, okay, where's our conflict here?
Yeah.
And even the the situation that got her, or the mechanic behind her being put in
Yeah.
this mental prison is not a state of conflict. Uh,
No.
so I feel like it was just this duo of issues was just a very conflictless arc.
Yeah.
Because even the decision for her to leave didn't feel like she got kind of tantalized back in. She was pretty
No.
immediately like, "Oh no, I'm Wolverine. I gotta go. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
allowed
Yeah.
to be happy. I gotta
No,
boogie."
it felt like we needed a longer, with what it was trying to do, it felt like we needed a longer build out of it. Because not even like, I don't want to say we needed more time in it, because we got a full issue and it lasted. We
Yeah,
just needed more time in it where she was like starting to be aware and there was more like actual conflict in it to
right.
have her kind of bouncing back and forth. So yeah,
Or
it
if
was
with
a,
the mechanic of how she was being manipulated,
yeah,
there's I feel like so much room for someone to be trying to help her get out. And if she
yeah.
was like rejecting these calls or something, to be
I
like,
thought that's what her boyfriend was gonna do when he like lured her outside in the beginning of this issue. I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. He's gonna be somebody who actually knows what's going on, and no, no, no.
and then you could even lean into the cheesy thing of like, oh, well, even though he's just a figment of her mind, he like loves her so much that he breaks through that and is trying to save her. But no, it's all very frictionless.
Yeah,
Uh which does not make for super fun reading in a series
yeah,
that I think has otherwise had really good conflict between characters and
yes, agreed.
really good action set pieces. Uh
Yeah, yeah.
so all in
This was
all,
for Erica Schultz. This is a little bit of a step down
yeah.
action writing wise, where usually Erica Schultz has a very clear picture of like goals and checkpoints within the
Yeah.
action and make it
Like
feel like it's
making the combat
progressing and yeah,
interesting.
yeah, like there's goals and there's things that have to happen and that sort of progression. That wasn't here in this issue. Like you
Yeah.
said, it was really just like a big goon fight,
Yeah.
which there's a place for. But at the ending of an arc,
Yeah, I think that she's in a uniquely challenging position with these 2 issue arcs. I don't know if that's something that she came up with or if that was just
yeah,
how
with
she
all the
pitched
guest
the book
characters, it absolutely
at
could have been like a
first.
mandated thing or a pitch that like it certainly feels like it's a heavy structure thing. So whoever is keeping to that, whatever is behind that, I think it is certainly inhibiting a little bit.
Yeah, agreed. But I really like the art on this one as well. I feel like
Yes, absolutely.
there have been some. I feel like
I
we've
said it
had
before, but
some
I
hiccups
love
with
this
the
page.
art.
This is a really good page.
Agreed with the I love his like little almost coming out claws.
Yeah.
Uh but I feel like I've had a couple of points of like, I don't know if I really love the choices that Belvisa is making. Like, I've really enjoyed a lot of the style, but some of the like
Yeah.
literal fashion choices I've found very questionable in a way that kind of pulled me out. But I really did enjoy it on this one.
Yeah.
Have you
But
been reading
are you
Wolverine?
reading? Yeah.
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 Specifically of the Laura Kinney variety. And if we're keeping up with this kind of uh, two-shot guest character issues, who do you want to see show up? Because I think it'd be fun to see her team up with a mean mutant. That's what I'm looking for.
We
Like
haven't
her
had
whole
a
thing is,
mutant yet. I mean, we had the kind of the Wolverines in this one, but like
yeah,
we haven't had like an established mutant yet. You know,
yeah,
it's like give her one of the X-Men. You know,
agreed. No, I don't. I want it to be a mean mutant. I want her to team up
uh,
with
Mystique.
like an evil mutant so that they can save mutants because her whole mutant like ethos I feel
Yeah,
needs to be pushed to its extreme to justify it.
yeah.
So I
Is
feel like
Scarlet
it's
Witch
like
evil right now? I
I
don't know. I
have
can't keep track
no
of
clue.
that. Feels like if she's evil right now, that'd be a solid. I don't know
That's
enough
fair.
evil mutants is the real issue here, and I don't
Me
want to say
either.
Magneto because that wouldn't be good. And I don't
No.
know any other evil mutants except for Mystique, Magneto, and sometimes Scarlet Witch.
Isn't Emma Frost mean
Emma
at least a
Frost,
lot of the time?
yes, there you
Yeah.
go, there you
There you
go, there you go.
go.
Genius.
Plus, then we can continue our trend of girly pops.
But we have Spider-Man Ultimate Spider-Man
Sure
Incursion
do.
coming up next, and it's time for Venom Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion. It's a one-shot, so kind of issue one. The writers actually, we have two writers on this book. The first is Cody Ziegler, who's worked on Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and Deadpool. The second writer is Dennis Camp of The Ultimates, Absolute Martian Manhunter, and 20th Century Men. The artist is Jonas Scharf of Namor, Power Rangers, and Bone Parish. The colorist is Edgar Delgado, and the letterer is Corey Petit. We officially have the first crossover between main Marvel Universe and Ultimate Marvel Universe. We
Yes,
talked a little bit about the tease. I think it was a Free Comic Book Day tease. So actually,
it
another Free Comic
was.
Book Day
There you
kind of
go. There you go.
um, of Miles being offered the chance and the fact that he seemed very emotionless about that. There, we get a lot more with Miles in this issue,
Yes.
actually going into that universe. Talk to me about it, Katie.
Yeah, I feel like there's something a little bit tricky with a bridge into mainline Marvel because I don't know at all what's going on in mainline Marvel. So to me, I'm like, why are you sullying my beautiful Ultimate Spider-Man with these main universe ideas? Um, but I'm willing to, set that aside. Uh, it's I think one, Jay showing some of my favorite. There's a bunch of action with Spot, like a big fight between three Spider-Mans and Spot. I think that the way that Miles is that's right. I think that the way that Miles is portrayed in this issue is really great. I do think there's a bit of a disconnect between the Miles we meet at the very beginning when he's like in his civilian identity and like journaling and the Miles we meet in the Spider-Man suit. And maybe that's a kind of common thing with Miles, where there's like a very
Yeah.
split vibe. Because I think Peter gets that often as well, where it's
Yeah.
like obviously you're more confident when you get to know that you get to be Spider-Man. But I did find it a little split personality where I'm like, okay, the Miles in the Spider-Man suit is like clearly meant to be so cool. Like Richard thinks that he's so cool.
Yeah.
And he does get to be so cool because he's like the veteran Spider-Man now. And
Yeah.
if they lean into that in the Ultimate Spider-Man book, I think that'll be really fun getting to see that kind of role twist where this is a Miles who has to teach Peter instead of like, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
will say not spoilers. I think we're done with that. It seems like we're done with that. I don't think
It
he's interacting with the Spider-Mans anymore.
That would be so weird though.
Yeah, no, I think we're done with that. I think he's going into that Wasp, Ant-Man, and Wakanda book.
Yeah, because I think that's the Ultimates book, right? They're
Is
in
it
the
the Ultimates
Ultimates.
book? I couldn't tell because it didn't say to be continued in the Ultimates, so I didn't know if that was like,
I don't know.
is
I
that like
feel
the
like
storyline name in the
it would
Ultimates, or
be
if there's going to be
very
another one
weird
shot?
if they brought Miles in and he didn't have things happening in the Ultimate Spider-Man book. Uh, I could be wrong,
Who
and
knows?
like maybe he'll be in two places because I agree that it did. He's clearly being set up to be in this other
Yeah,
book.
this felt like this was the interaction with the Spider-Mans to me. That was my
I will
what.
find that deeply weird and odd. Though I won't be so mad about it because again, don't dilute my perfect Ultimate Spider-Man universe
I think that's the
with
thing. Like
this
he's going to
mainline
more
Marvel
he's going to more
nonsense.
big picture universe stuff, and that's not really what the
I
Spider-Man
mean,
are
fair.
doing
That's
right
very
now.
fair. Uh, yeah, so I really enjoyed the action in the issue. I really enjoyed the way that Miles impressed everyone in the spider suit. I think that he was really fun when he got to be in that role as like the kind of veteran superhero. Uh, I didn't find the like framing of it super exciting, like him looking for his sister, because it didn't feel like they were really looking for her,
No, they kept peeping in people's windows. I don't know how that helped.
right? Especially because like Pete and Richard don't know what the child looks like. Why are they looking at people's windows?
And like, why is the assumption that this child would be inside like an apartment building or something? Like Miles makes the same assumption. Like, why are you
Yeah,
not like going to a police station or looking on streets where she would just be like, why do you think she should be in some random person's apartment? Why is that the assumption that has been accepted?
I don't know. It feels like just an excuse for them to flip around together. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did like their flipping around together. I just found the framing of it very weird. But how did you feel about Ultimate Spider-Man
Yeah, the first
Incursion?
thing I'll say is while I agree somewhat with the split, I will say I do think the front matter of this book did much better than the Free Comic Book Day of making
Yes,
Miles like actually
very
emotional
much so.
about his
Mhm.
lost Earth and everything. I was like, good, good. Should have been there when he first got the offer, but at least it's there now. Secondly, I have to call this out. I don't know if you read it physically, Katie.
I
What
did not.
what is going on? What is going on with some of these pages here?
Are those all just like super faded?
And no, like I don't think there's much black ink, so there's no lettering. Like the lettering's all
Oh,
gone.
funky. No, I read it digitally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So
That's
there's
so
a decent amount of
funky.
pages like that, which I felt the need to call out. Disappointing that I have to go
Yeah.
online every couple, every couple pages to be like, what's the lettering on this page, you know. But in any case, moving on. I really like the spot fight as well. I think the spot encounters were like the highlight of
Hmm.
this book. Them flipping around aimlessly wasn't super exciting for me, and I think they overdid it with the Richard and Peter like talking up Miles thing. It's one of those things where like I get it, you want us to understand that he's like the more experienced, better Spider-Man, but show don't tell is still a thing, and you're leaning way, way too hard into the tell. Like
Yeah,
you
like
can
we
dial
get
it
to
back.
see
You
him
can
kick
show the
Spot's
Peter,
ass immediately.
yeah, and you can show the Peter jealousy without it legitimately just being because Richard is like straight up saying that he's so much cooler and like all
Yeah.
like you can show that in a way without it being such on the nose
Hmm.
dialogue. So that was another slight point back for me. But I liked actually the way that we got Miles here. I think the looking for the sister could have been done better, but I also like the spot fight. So it was a mixed bad, but I think more good than bad for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dear readers, did you read this incursion issue of Ultimate Spider-Man? How do you feel about the Ultimate Universe being bridged into mainline Marvel? Do you wish it would just
Yeah.
stay separate, or are you like, all right, bring on the multiverse?
And how do you feel about our Venom theory being accurate now? Not fully where we thought, but technically accurate now. I'll take the win.
Technically accurate. I can't believe it. Who could have predicted that there was this black goo and it could be the ultimate Venom?
uh,
We're geniuses.
we're geniuses. Truly the smartest people to ever
Exactly.
live.
Which is why you
What have we
also
got
want to
next,
hear us
Steve?
talk about The Moon is Following Us. The Moon is Following Us, number 10. The writer artist here is Daniel Warren Johnson of Transformers, Do a Powerbomb, and Wonder Woman Dead Earth. The artist as well is, of course, Riley Rossmo of Harley Quinn, Detective Comics, and Bedlam. The colorist is Mike Spicer, and the letterer is Sean Lee. Jay, I feel like I'm introducing a funeral because it is the end of The Moon is Following Us. A
It
book
is.
that was
Issue
all
10?
over at just like 3 issues in, it was all over our top issues, top creatives of
Yeah, yeah.
2024.
2025 is going to be a year for it, for sure.
It sure will. It sure will be. So now that we have reached the very end,
Yes.
tell me how you're feeling.
let me start by singing this book's praises because it does so many incredible things, and we talked about how it's just when a team is so strong, like there's no weak link. If you believe in the team is only as strong as its weakest link, this book was built for that because the weakest link on this book is like an all-time great at their role. Like that's the level that you are with this book, which is I think just tremendous and is why it's so tremendous in every method of execution. This is a finale that feels like a finale, and that is something that I really, really love. And I think it's really a Daniel Warren Johnson thing. Don't think you've ever read a Daniel Warren Johnson book that has a finale.
I don't think so.
I think Daniel Warren Johnson always does a really good job of giving these books like a true finality where like you kind of finish it and then you like sit with it. Like, it's not a book where you like put it down and grab your next poll for the week. Like you kind of sit with the ending of it and you feel the fact that it has ended. It's not just like, oh, there's no issue next month. That kind of sucks. You feel the ending of the book. There is no issue 11. There will never be an issue 11. There never could be an issue 11. If he makes an issue 11, it is because he's gone so beyond the and he just it'd be the shamelessest cash grab ever.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, it is a really, really good finale. It hits on every level. It is so incredibly emotional. It's got, a lot. I say things a lot about books that have like tacked on endings beyond the ending, where it's like, oh, you get the ending and then you get like more to get the characters.
Little epilogue,
this is it. This is it done really well to where it's like, okay, we want you to kind of see the path that this took, and we're gonna use that to like further play on your emotions and actually deliver something really great instead of just like and this person's here and this person's there, which is great. This was so phenomenal top to bottom. I do want to throw out my one criticism, which is I think they went back to the well too many times with the same emotional beat that they tried to hit you with. Like I think this is maybe the third or fourth time they hit it, and they do it twice in this issue, and they've already done it like 2 times. So there's a point to where I'm like, just, you didn't have to, I don't want to do, there's a bit in the epilogue, I don't think it was necessary to do something that they did in the epilogue. I think it should have just been kind of resolved where it was initially resolved, and that would have been great. But this book is just so good that even that thing that like a lot of places would like really piss me off, it doesn't bother you too much. It's like a little bit like, okay, but it's still really, really great.
I'm not gonna lie, it bothered me too much.
Okay. Go.
I agree that it's an issue that feels like a finale. I do feel like it really brought the series to an end. I do find myself a little bummed with the resolution of the finale. I feel like it's a book that has such like it had so much going for it in terms of like the creativity behind it that there was, I feel like I wanted a little bit more of a
they get off a little easy.
Yeah, exactly.
They do get off a little easy.
And it's a book that was so focused on the journeys of Sam and Duncan trying to save Penny that when Penny inevitably, it's at the start of it. It's at the end of last issue even. Penny is saved and like is awake and talking and being a character not in flashback. And I'm like, Like, she got a lot of credit as a character who we were seeing through the lenses of her parents who love her so much. Like, the little flashbacks to why certain things worked in the world, like with the impossible to break car seat and the, like, shark that can't die. Like, these were all such good little beats for Penny. And then it felt like when she was an actual character, she, was, like, a little too wise, right? Like,
that I fully, I do agree with that.
Like, she was
like the setup of, like, those things that you mentioned kind of leading to, like, oh, well, of course, then she can kind of do whatever she wants because she is the person who... For sure,
but she was, like, so proficient and, like you were saying with them getting off easy, like, there was... Penny did not need to learn anything, which is, I suppose, fine, but I do feel like it took a lot of
her having to learn anything would have been, like...
I suppose... I think the tricky thing is that she didn't have to learn anything to be the hero of the issue.
Yes, that I agree
And
with. Yeah.
and the fact that she was the hero of the issue, I think, was a little tricky for me, because
Yes.
I was so bought in to Duncan, yes, but very specifically Sam. I feel like she was given such a beautiful arc throughout
Yeah.
this entire book, and she really felt like an incredible core of the book.
Yeah.
And it felt like Duncan was going to get that a little bit in the latter half of it, and then he was kind of dead for a lot of it, or frozen for a lot of it in the series. Um, which I suppose speaks to, their characterization, but I do feel like
Yeah.
this issue left me feeling a bit unresolved on Sam and Duncan,
That's fair. That's fair.
because Penny got to come in and like be the hero.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I see that for sure. I certainly see that. Yeah, I think Penny was a little bit. I think when you said she was too wise, I think is the most adequate issue. Because like I don't have an issue with her not having to learn it. Because like when you have a character coming in for the final issue, and like she's the kid that's being saved, I don't expect her to have to learn a lesson when she comes back to life.
Yeah,
Like the end of
no,
the
for
book.
sure. I
So
think
like
it was
yeah.
more so the effortlessness hero
Yeah,
role
yeah.
that
Like
she was in.
but also I feel like the setup for her to be very good at the powers in the universe was there. I think it just becomes overwhelming to the extent to which it's used in this issue, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, I think my main thing is that they do get off a little easy. I don't want to spoil it, but things work out in a way that they probably really shouldn't have worked out, in my opinion. We'll have a spoiler conversation as soon as we wrap our
Oh yeah,
spoiler-free
I'm
conversation
very
here.
excited.
But comment down below if you want us to get into the full spoiler conversation, because I would love to talk to you guys in full about The Moon is Following Us. I do still, even with those little gripes, I did still love this issue, and I do love this series in its totality.
Yeah, it is a hard issue not to like. I know that most of what I said was criticisms,
Yeah.
but it's because it's a book that has done so many things so right for the entire run of it. That it's like, all right, we can dip back into these wells.
Yeah, and that's like, even with them going to the well, like there were still beats in this that really did get me, and some of that was actually why some of the criticisms there, because it's like, oh, you got me, and then it felt like maybe I shouldn't have actually been gotten that much based on the way that things went. But yeah, it's I really hope people do comment about this issue, because I would really love
and comment down below if you want us to do a full series retrospective. This is something that we really love to read.
Yeah.
So maybe when that trade paperback comes out, or even the trade hardcover, it's that good of a book that I might get the hardcover if they do.
Well, especially because the hardcover will probably have all 10 compared to like having it 2 trades for.
Oh, I don't know. I assume it would be a chonky trade. Maybe not.
No, on the back of this it says Volume 1 available now. So yeah, I assume it's going to be two trade paperbacks. And
so I'll get a beautiful fancy hardcover if they release that. Yeah. But not a special edition one. I can't spend $60 on a book I already read. But I'm looking at you beneath the trees where nobody sees. I want it. It's just too expensive for a book that I already own in multiple forms.
We're gonna go over and talk about Arcana Royale issue 2. Yeah, let's do that now.
Hell yeah.
Arcana Royale issue 2. The writer is Cullen Bunn of Sinestro, Magneto, and the Sixth Gun. The artist is A.C. Zamadio of the Sixth Gun, Valley of Death, The Remains, and Shadow Roads. The colorist is Bill Crabtree, and the letterer is Josh Reed. Katie, we were a big fan of the visuals in issue 1, but we wanted a little bit more.
Yes.
How do you feel? Do you feel issue 2 is delivered on that?
I really liked issue 2. I feel like the lore that they introduced with issue 2, specifically around the card game, is super duper interesting. And I think that the way that it impacts Hudson is really, really good. Because we were talking, I believe, in issue 1 that it didn't feel like Hudson got a lot of like characterization beyond just like kind of card sharky. And I feel like this is something that presented her with a big moral quandary and then had her take action that is still like a little mysterious. Like it doesn't feel like it made a definitive statement about her, but it spoke to the kind of like gray of her. Yeah. I also really loved the visuals again in this issue.
Yes.
I'm
A.C. Zamadio.
I'm borderline burnt out on tarot card visuals, but between this and Minor Arcana, it's staying alive. I'm like, if I see a tarot card in a single other book,
so much Arcana.
Yeah, so much Arcana. And they do it so well. But if I see an Arcana fucking tarot deck in another book, I will, I don't know,
Light it on fire.
crawl through the book and burn the cards.
Yeah.
That's probably deeply bad luck in some way.
Eh.
Nah. Yeah, so I love the visuals. I think that we got a start of good characterization. I liked the introduction of the guy, Jesse. No, what? He has a name.
He does have a name. He
Reese.
does have a name.
It's Reese.
There you go.
In my defense, Jesse has a lot of the same letters. Kind of. It's just both names have a lot of E's. I liked his introduction. I like who he is as a character, and I like what he brought to the table, pun intended. And I'm excited to see how his role evolves.
Yeah.
So I'm left at the end of this issue feeling a lot more excited about the series than I felt at the end of issue 1.
Fully agreed. A lot more story gets built up here. This is a much better story issue. I've said a lot, but there's certain creators where like you trust in them to bring it back around when like they have first issue. Like Cullen Bunn is one of those creators who I do trust to bring it back around. He does here. He gives us kind of all the characterization that you need to actually be invested in this cool concept. That being said, I have to lean back into my one gripe from issue 1, which is that this card game doesn't make any sense, and there is no attempt for it to make sense. And like they try to do some poker things, but like I'm sorry, I don't want to spoil who, but somebody busts out in this poker game by folding, which doesn't make any sense, because if you fold, it means you chose not to put the rest of your money in, which means you can't be out of money. And it's like a big moment too, like them being out of money. Yeah. And I'm like, this did not make any sense.
I'm so glad that I have no framing reference for poker.
Just try to make the card, even if it's not poker, because it feels like they are leaning on like normal poker rules, just with weird cards.
Yeah.
But they are not doing well in those rules. So either establish rules, do something. I want to be able to follow the game more than like the stereotypical James Bond. I'm all in, you're all in, everybody's all in for more and more money. Like I want it to have, because of so many of the like intense moments are at the table, like in this game. I want to be able to follow it more, and I want it to make a little bit more sense. It is a smaller gripe because I'm much rather the art and story be phenomenal and the poker just be a little janky. But come on,
he should be able to have it all.
Yeah, that's my little gripe. But yeah, I really, really like what happens for Hudson's character in this issue, because like you said, she did not have much in that first issue. So there's a lot more here. I like a lot of what's being set up with like the like world toll of these cards. It's super interesting and engaging. Cool. So I'm
the character introduced with that I found really compelling.
Yeah, agreed. So I'm very, very excited for the rest of Arcana Royale. But yeah, it'd be nice if the poker could be a little bit more,
Yeah. I feel like you had this gripe about some other book at one point, and I was like, this makes no sense to me anyway.
Yeah, it's very rare that poker is done properly in anything.
Yeah, I believe you.
It's a sad day for us all.
Yes, but really only you. Because I really enjoyed it, and the narrative told me how to feel about the different card situation, so I was like, thank you, narrative.
It just be like I wanted to feel certain, like I like she folds there, and then he's like, good move, I had it, and I was like, okay, great, she made a good move, and then they're like, you're out of the game, and I'm like, what? What? What do you mean? She folded, she didn't give him all her money, what are you talking about? She's out of the game. What do you mean?
I have no answers for you, my dear buddy.
So yeah, that yeah. Anyway, good. It was still a good book. We got more Cullen Bunn coming for you. We got Jumpscare up next. Let's jump into Jumpscare.
Jumpscare number 4. This comes to us from writer Cullen Bunn of Magneto, The Sixth Gun, and Harrow Country, not to mention Arcana Royale, which we just reviewed. This comes to us from artist Danny Luckard of Regression, The Red Mother, and The Space Between, and the letterer is Jim Campbell. Jay, we've liked Jumpscare. We've enjoyed Jumpscare.
Yeah. Is this the last issue, by the way? Because like
I was literally about to ask you that, because I was like, I don't know. So you talk about Jumpscare, I'll find out for us.
Yeah, you find out that information for us. A lot of the stuff that's really enjoyable about Jumpscare continues here. There's fun references. We get a reference to Watchmen in the first little bit, which is very fun. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And then we really get her powers taken to a really cool place with all the weapons, horror movie weapons that she uses in this one, because there's some extension of that, which is very, very fun. And I like that a lot.
Very fun.
The art in this book is great. Danny Lockhart is like the perfect choice for this type of book and this type of feel. It is so good, so visceral, but like in a very entertaining way. I really, really enjoy it.
It's violent without being gross, which is what I like about it.
Yeah.
As someone who was like very grossed out by Infernal, invasive.
Invasive, yes.
Yeah.
Invasive was meant to be very unsettling. It was a body.
Yes.
It was kind of a body horror-y.
And this is just like campy slasher violence.
Exactly. Yeah.
Danny Lockhart does that so well.
Which is like if this is I'm sorry, did you find out if this is the last issue?
This is the last issue.
Yeah. So I think that's a little. They are clearly setting up something, I think, for either a potential volume 2 or for one of the other books, because this is meant to be a universe that's gonna
in universe with continue. Is the other book just called Leviathan? Beyond Mortal.
Beyond Mortal. Yeah. So yeah, I quite like that. The lead in and the end stinger are phenomenal, by the way.
So good.
So good. So masterfully executed on a visual level, on a writing level. Utterly love it. The very, very end of this is great. The kind of lead in and all the action and adventure is very good and it's very entertaining. But we talked about the moon is following us feeling like a conclusion. It's great when these like series feel like a conclusion. This didn't really feel like a conclusion, which is the one knock on it. Again, clearly it is setting up more, and it is in a universe that is going to continue based on the name talent involved. I'm sure there will be more in this universe. Yeah. But it is a little bit rough when you're getting to the end of a mini series and it doesn't super feel like the ending. So that's the one knock on it for me.
Yeah, I big agree with that. I think that it's a book that I didn't want to be a miniseries. Like, it doesn't feel like it had to be a miniseries. It felt like it could be something that was just happening in the Beyond Mortal universe. And I was very happy. Jay, all the way at the beginning, before we read Jumpscare #1, had read Beyond Mortal, and I had not. So I was really just enjoying this as a standalone series. Yeah. So the fact that it's over but like may continue in the Beyond Mortal universe is like such a bummer to me, because like maybe I'll go read Beyond Mortal and maybe we'll keep up with the escapades of Jumpscare.
Maybe we'll do it for a podcast thing at some point.
But she's not like the main character of that universe.
No, and she's not even in Beyond Mortal.
Yeah, so I really loved a lot of the emotional beats of this issue. I feel like it felt like such a good end to a first arc that would then expand out into the larger world as opposed to the insular world, with like all of these weird religious zealots hanging around with their weird weapons. I thought that was so cool looking. I'm sorry, I know like it's a little bit to the end of the book. But I feel like all of the stuff that I've really liked about Jumpscare has really persisted. It's been such a consistent book for me. Whereas like all of the stuff that I really like about it, and in this one we get even more of some of the stuff that I liked, which was the relationship between Jumpscare and her sister. One thing that I loved is when her sister sees her, she calls her Allie, and even though Jumpscare has corrected people in the past, like, no, it's Jumpscare now. She like let her sister call her Allie, and I thought that was such a good like character moment to be like, oh, maybe she, is willing to have kind of a civilian life and a normal relationship with her sister. And obviously there's 1,001 things that complicate that. But I'm just so mad that it is the end of it, because it feels like the beginning of it, right? Like, it doesn't feel like a miniseries. It feels like a volume 1.
Yeah. I think, pure speculation, but I think the rough thing is because Danny Lockhart is, at least to this point, and I assume going forward, is going to be illustrating everything in the Beyond Mortal universe. Them wanting to do different books and different characters means you can't exactly have an ongoing or long-running book if Danny Lockhart's going to have to draw, insert this character's book and insert this character's book. Jumpscare continuing would, unfortunately,
but have they considered
again that way.
That I really like Jumpscare, so they should just ignore the rest of the universe and just focus on her.
I really want more of some of the main Beyond Mortal stuff too. We do have to do the trade at some point. But I agree with you. Jumpscare, I think needed more. It needs to be. It needs to go a little bit more, especially with the ending being so good.
It's such a good ending. Like, on the emotional side of things, like on the
Yeah, it
Leviathan
gets
touched
you.
and the non-Leviathan touched side of things.
Oh, it was one like it got like I fully got jerked by it. I was like, you know what? You got me, Columbine.
Hell
Good
yeah.
job.
Hell
Good
yeah, Colin.
job.
But yes, it's such a good conclusion to the series, and such a
Yeah.
fun series that for me really just came out of nowhere. Like I feel like
Yeah.
the reason we read it, because I don't think you had even read Beyond Mortal before we
I
decided we were
had it.
going to
Yeah,
do.
I had the trade,
Yeah.
and you had mentioned I had Jumpscare pulled, and I was like, should I mention this? But you brought it up, and I was like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
But I was like, you know, it's in a universe, right? I was like, I
And
wanted to
I
make
was
sure
like,
that you were
no, I
okay
did
with
not.
that. And so I read Beyond Mortal like a couple days before we did, the Jumpscare issue 1 pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And
I
so
like that.
it was so out of nowhere and such a
Yeah.
fave, and such a bummer for it to be over after only 4 issues.
Yeah, but like I said, we'll certainly get more from this universe. Whether or not we get more Jumpscare, I'm unsure. I hope
She's
the
the
answer
only
is
one I
yes.
care about right now.
But I would bet money that we get more in the universe.
Oh, certainly.
So,
I mean, it's Cullen Bunn's original universe.
yeah.
He's vibing.
And we're not gonna have an issue of Cullen Bunn not being able to do enough books because
Right?
holy crap,
the only thing he does is enough books. This man is a machine. So I can only imagine how he is with his own personal projects as opposed to like,
so many of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Insane, super fun. Did you read Beyond Mortal? Do you have a character from that series that you want to get a spin-off? And if you do, tough shit. Danny Lockert's busy doing Jumpscare Volume 2. But if, they were to get a different artist so Danny Lockhart can keep working on this, who would you want to see get a spin-off? Did you read this without reading Beyond Mortal, like moi? How did you deal with it? How did you feel about like the way that the universe was introduced?
Let us know.
Let us know down below. And we'll talk about more Jumpscare. But for now, we have other books to talk about. Including
Buried long, long ago. Buried long, long ago, issue 2. The writer is Anthony Cleveland of Stargazer, Charred Remains, and Show's End. The artist Alex Cormack of The Devil That Wears My Face, Sink, and I play the bad guy. The letterer is Justin Birch. Katie, issue 1 was a pretty surprise smash hit for us. We had some glowing reviews for the first issue of Buried Long, Long Ago, and we almost forgot to review it this week.
Yes, accurate. Look, a lot of books come out. It's hard to keep track of all.
Yeah, we're reading a lot of them. But we did manage to get it on there. Credit Katie. I had completely lost it. But
this issue's super good as well. I feel like I was a little disoriented by the configuration of children immediately. I was like, okay, is this the oldest one? So there was a little bit of trouble with that, but that's, I think, kind of
I flipped back immediately to issue 1 to like look at the children.
I was like, okay, I think I know what one's there, and then the oldest one popped up, and I was like, oh, okay, and then I reread the other page. I was like, this is the middle youngest. The sister relationships, so good. I love the sister writing, like especially the youngest sister fucking with the middle sister, so good. And then Jesse, the oldest sisters,
in the window.
The oldest sister's role continues to be so clear. Like she really embodies that like older sister taking care of her younger sisters against their mother. Yeah. So great. I really, really like that. I also think that her characterization specifically was really strong in this one. The way that she was interacting with the farmhand, I think, was great.
I really.
The one gripe that I have with this issue is something that I kind of wish didn't have to be a gripe, but because of the age of the miniseries, like I feel like our plot didn't move super far. Like, we got another kind of instance of burying.
That's fair. I wasn't even really thinking about that, but that's super fair.
I know, and it's one of those things where if this was a book that was going to get as long as it needed, like if they got to just like choose however long it wanted to be, I feel like I wouldn't be as worried about that. And it might be something that by the time we get to the end, it could be like a really tight series that gave itself this breathing room, which I actually think might be really likely. Like, this has seemed like a really competently paced and like designed series thus far over the 2 issues. I have faith that it won't be a problem, but I am a little bit worried because we've been burned by this kind of thing before where it's like, we didn't really get to move very far in the issue. and then it comes
That's
back and
super
bites you
fair.
later. But I
Yeah.
really, really liked this issue. I think that the characterization of everyone across the board, from the
Oh
sisters
yeah.
to the mother to the farmhand, even the introduction of, I'm gonna quote unquote call her the witch, was so great. I feel like it really fleshed out this beautiful world.
Yeah.
So yeah, my only gripe is that I feel like we didn't quite start moving on stuff, but we did get some
Yeah.
like sisters antagonizing, and like we ended with, I think, a step forward. But
Yes,
it's
I'd say a big step forward
yeah, yeah.
at the end there.
But I'm
Another
worried that
great
that came
little
all the
ender
way at the
there.
end of the issue, and
Yes.
maybe they'll be able to make up for that lost time.
No, that's a very
I
fair
truly
concern.
do have faith in this team,
No,
because I
that's
think that
very
it's
fair.
been
I
very
think.
good.
Yeah, I did not think about that, but it's always the thing of the miniseries era that we live in. Sometimes, you got to be
Right.
worried about that. But yeah, this was another great issue. Like this really, I think, kept up that like quality of issue one. I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
say momentum, but I was like, maybe with the story moving, momentum is the wrong word. But it really kept up the quality of issue one. I think
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Cleveland has that skill that is so important in comics, but honestly, fairly rare. Where like every single character feels so unique and so well
Yes.
characterized, and like every line, everything. Like this is a book that is so strong on characterizing its characters. I actually like. I want to talk about the mother the most. Every line from the mother unsettles me to my very core,
Oh,
like
so good.
straight through me. I want to talk about the end of the first issue because we didn't really talk about that. Like the fact that the mother fucking just kills this dude that she married, and that like the children have
So
to
good.
see it and cover it up, and all of the sisters
Oh,
are aware of it and terrified of it. Oh my god, I love it. It's so good. The premise behind this book is outstanding, and they really
and I
deliver on
believe
it.
it's based on a true thing. I think that it's based on a real woman who was going around
That
and
is
murdering her husband.
more terrifying.
Yes.
But yeah, I think this was another just phenomenal issue. I really loved it. Yeah, I am now a little bit concerned now that you brought that up about the pace that's moving. But again, like you said, it could be a really tight miniseries because this might also just not go very far, like with scope. It might be like
Right.
this
Yeah.
tight little like one encounter type. You know, like we're on multiple nights now, but one of those like one couple nights horror
Right. Yeah.
stories. You know.
Especially because I something that doesn't normally get me, but really got me with this one is the little teaser for the next issue. Like seeing the like this is available in July, and it like shows the cover. I am
Yeah.
so excited based on what that cover shows and what that will imply for like the family. I'm very excited for this next
Not
issue.
me going to look for the cover now
Yeah, no,
because
that's
I
so
have.
fair. Because I think that when we're talking to
Oh,
yeah, I think when we're talking about scope, might be
oh.
getting our scope in there, and so then having the real depth of the book coming from these characters, I think will make this issue a lot
I'm
uh
concerned now.
right, right. Oh, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Um
Oh, I'm very concerned now.
uh dear listeners, have you been reading Bear Long Long Ago? And if not, why? We
Yeah,
were
why?
really
What's wrong
nice
with
about
you?
the first issue. Why didn't you pick it up?
I'm pretty sure we told them that they had to buy it.
Oh my god.
I believe it was both of our
Dear
podcast
listener,
recommendations, so they had to buy
why
it.
are you not reading it?
Yeah, come on.
But we do have one more book to talk about.
One more book.
One more book to talk about, and it is
Something.
from friend of the pod, our
That's
buddy
right.
Dakota Brown, coming out with Something Beyond the Petrichor. Something Beyond the Petrichor, #1. This is coming to us from writer Dakota Brown of Grandma Tilly's Helltech Mech and Death Comes for the Toymaker, and artist, colorist, letterer David Lujan of Big Game Saga and Neridia. Jay, we
Yes.
read the Free Comic Book Day Red 5 issue that had Something Beyond the Petrichor in it, and we were a little bit feral. We loved it. We thought that it was phenomenal, conceptually, artistically,
Yes.
in totality. And now we have, yes, now we have the full first issue.
We do.
How do you feel it held up to our expectations?
So, I always this is gonna sound weird. I don't like heavily praising friends' books because I feel like it feels biased.
No, Jay. We only make friends with talented people.
That's true. We tend not to make friends with people whose books we don't like. But that
Or
being
they
said.
don't make friends with us.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm gonna start with a very high place, in saying that this is certainly up there, if not easily stealing the crown for my favorite first issue of 2025 so far. Like, this
So good.
is an utterly phenomenal, and especially when you take into account that it's not oversized, and
Right?
how difficult it is to do a first issue that is not oversized. It utterly killed it. Honestly, its competition is actually probably buried long ago, issue one. So funny
So
timing there
good.
for the other best issue one. This was utterly phenomenal. The world building, and it's actually something that we talked about with Death Comes with the Toymaker. The world building that Dakota is able to do without like front loading it with exposition and like working it into the story is
Mm-hmm.
so good. The way that it's worked into the dialogue, the way that it's worked into like them actually having to do things, and then that leads to them discussing how the world works and what their situation is. It's so natural to where you're never feeling like you're being exposition dumped. But after just this issue, I can tell you so much about this world, about her
Right.
story, about how they got there. Like, it is so well done. It's such an interesting world. And even after all of that, they still introduced a new element at the very end of this issue that made me go, what?
Yeah.
Did we not already have enough? Why do we need this too? And I'm not saying that in like a, why are you putting that in here? But like, no, it's awesome. I'm excited. This is so
So
cool.
cool.
The teases of it throughout this issue, and it was teased very well. I wanna,
Mm-hmm.
it's David Luhan.
David
Okay,
Lujan.
David
Yeah.
Luhan, because the teasers are fully visual. So 100% of credit to David Luhan for how cool those teasers were, because they were
Yes.
awesome. And then the build up and the payoff, so freaking good. This issue utterly ruled. I am so excited for this series.
Dude, absolutely fucking same. Like, I feel like, because we've talked to Dakota about his writing process, and a lot of it is informed by his writing as a playwright. And I
Yes.
feel like playwriting is such a, like, uh, I wouldn't say efficient, because I don't think that's quite the right word, but it's such a clear writing
Yeah.
style, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are trying to communicate something through words and like a bit of action as well, but it's like dialogue and story is moved so much through the words that are put on the page that I feel like that translates so beautifully to the way that he writes comics. It's really amazing to
But let me
see.
just kind of, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because I would actually expect a playwright to be more wordy than Dakota is. Like, I feel like that's the like thing that I'm impressed with the transition is that Dakota changes the dialogue from like the very wordy form of
Mhm.
plays to like the conciseness you need for comics.
I don't know. I feel like that's what I'm saying. It's not quite the efficiency that I think has carried over, but I think the clarity. Like
Yeah.
when you are, I have only written like two, like
Katie flexing the play right here.
prosy playwriting things,
Yeah.
non-prosy playwriting things, and it's so difficult to find what words you have to use to convey everything that you need to convey. And I feel like that talent is so consistent with Dakota that he's really able to figure out how to clearly tell everybody what's happening without needing to uh, exposition dump, to do it through characterization, to do it
Yeah.
through the way that
A
the
stuffed
characters
animal
talk and
that
act
has
with each
come to
other.
life.
Yeah. Oh my god.
What's
Oh, because that's the
yeah.
fucking thing. It's also funny.
What's his name?
Like,
Is that one line of like, I'm trying to keep the rain from getting in, and he's like, I want what is his name? I'm trying to think of his name right now.
oh jeez.
Uh,
You look for the name. Because I also have more to compliment this book on.
yeah, I want to let the Quigley out. Like, that had me burst out in laughter. I
Same.
was like, that was so
Oh my
funny.
god. Fuck Quigley, dude.
Quigley.
Um,
And the
it's
way that
so
David
so
Luhan draws Quigley.
amazing. I feel like the apathy of our main character is so Jocelyn is so like central on the page. Like none of this is stuff that she's like over explaining or expositing about, and none of it is stuff that's like a conversation with Quigley because Quigley is a stuffed toy. But the seriousness with which Quigley is spoken to is so great.
Yeah.
And the hilarity, like when Quigley was trying to pull the cart, and when
And
We
it's
quickly
he
like
has these
laid
facial
down
expressions
fucking
with the little stuffed face that are
so good.
so
So
animated.
so good. Amazing. And
Oh,
that's not even to touch on like the really cool lore of this world where like
oh, it's amazing.
plastic is resistant to this acid rain.
Yeah,
So you're able to move through the world with this plastic. And I feel like it's
yeah,
also a book that immediately gave you such a good sense of the threat of the rain.
yeah.
Like the way that the rain would come through quickly was so cool. And you get such a good sense for like the danger of it, but also the like competence and I guess strategy of Jocelyn. Like
Yeah.
with her fucking I went crazy when she whipped out the squirt gun full of acid rain. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
you've just told me this is my favorite character now. I
That,
love her
that
so
that was part of the premise, if I remember. I remember like reading it out and reading the like
squirt
Jocelyn like
gun
with
full.
the with the script, because I think it was like something about like a girl in the apocalypse like with an acid rain gun and a stuffed animal. Like I think that was like the log line in some sense, something along those lines of
So
the log line.
good.
And I was like, yeah, that's just awesome. Like that's you you
Yeah,
you
and
can
it speaks to something that we've talked about with Dakota before, where he's so good at pulling you in to his books.
yeah,
Like there is not a
and a
part
great
of this
title.
book, amazing titler. There's not a part of this book that made me think, eh. Every part of this book made me lean in and made me so excited for what's to come.
There's no like again, like this is the kind of thing that I don't like saying for Friends book, because it feels so biased. I don't have a criticism for this issue. Like you can try to pull one out. I don't have a criticism for this
I
issue.
literally don't know that I do either.
Yeah,
I'm like reaching for one, and I don't think I'm finding
don't
it.
have one.
Yeah.
With
And
which
that
for me,
is
for an issue one that isn't oversized is really freaking hard to do.
and like that is a testament to Dakota. That's also a testament to David Lujan.
David
Because the
Lujan
art
killed
in
it
this
in this
book
issue.
is so
That final
phenomenal.
splash.
Ugh.
Oh,
I lost my mind.
every
I
scene once it starts raining, the change in the coloring. Because also we need to talk. David Lujan does everything.
yeah,
Draws it, colors it,
insanely talented.
letters it.
Insanely
But the
talented.
coloring in this book in general, phenomenal, top tier.
Such amazing tone. Like
But yeah,
this is a
the
book
like
where you
non-rain
could
pink, and then it starts raining and it goes all blue.
so good. This is a book where you could pull a panel out and say what book is this from and just
Oh
be
yeah,
able to identify it.
and like David Lujan hasn't done much. Like couple one shots, a couple issues of
I
a
believe
series.
he was one of the people who was fucked by Scout. So I think that
Oh,
he may have had stuff on the
I think you're
horizon.
thinking of the if you're thinking of the person who started it, that was a different Lujan.
Never mind then.
Yeah. Same last name, different person. Yeah, no, like a couple anthologies, one shot, a couple issues here. I don't know if they've done like extensive Kickstarter stuff or like stuff in a different space, but in terms of what I found, not extensive like series work or long running work. I don't think that's going to last long after this book gets out there.
Oh yeah. David Lujan's about to become real desired.
Yeah,
If he isn't already. Because
yeah.
frankly, Jesus Christ.
Hold on. But yeah, this book was outstanding. I don't know what else to say except you gotta pick it up.
Well, that's a good segue.
Copies of issue 2, so I know what I'm doing when this recording's done.
Hell yes. Oh my god. Well, Jay, that is the end of the books. That we're talking about for the week, which means it's time for the pull list rack.
Yes.
What are you gonna recommend?
This is an unfair week because there were outstanding books this week that
so many good books
so many weeks would get and deserve a pull list recommendation.
Yeah.
But sadly, I don't think any of them are gonna get them because I think you and me are gonna be in agreement on this one. My pull list recommendation is going to Something Beyond the Petrichor.
I mean, same. We just we just got through absolutely gushing about it, so I really don't think we should do that again because we will and talk in circles
I'll
about
talk
it.
about it next. We'll save talking more about it for when we hopefully get Dakota on the pod again to talk about it.
Yes, Dakota, open invitation. This was so good.
Always.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
Insane.
Good stuff.
But yeah, so make sure you go pick up Something Beyond the Petrichor.
Yes,
number 1. And support the series because you know it's going to be a fucking good one, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. But we have plenty of content
We do.
to shell out to you before we go. Jay, what are we going to be talking about next week?
So next week, we've got another jam-packed week. We've got Batman and Robin, issue 22, Batman Dark Patterns, issue 7. As we talked about, this is the real start of the, Free Comic Book Day book starting. So we're jumping on a Conan the Barbarian with issue 21. We've got Drawing Blood, issue 9. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, issue 9. Frankenstein New World, Sea of Forever, issue 4. We have the second issue of the other Red 5 new book that we're reading, Snow Monkey. And we have issue 7 of TMNT Mutant Nation. A ton of books there. But we also have 2 bonus episodes coming this weekend, probably on Friday and Sunday. Katie, tell the people what they're going to be.
My dear people, we are going to be talking about the absolutes. It's that time of the month again. Absolute Superman, Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Flash, Absolute Martian Manhunter, and Absolute Green Lantern, all coming at you in one big episode where we catch you up on everything that's happening in the DC Absolute Universe. So if you're not reading it, or you just want to keep a pulse on the books that you're not a part of, we got you covered. Then we'll also be having our Strange Sunday Super Show, where this month we will be reading a very interesting book. It is called Kaiju Score, about a world where kaiju run amok every so often, and a scrappy band of bank robbers essentially decide to use a kaiju attack that has evacuated a city as the perfect cover for a heist.
Sounds strange? It's going.
And it'll happen on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it'll be a super show.
And get strange with us. But I believe that's everything we have coming up. Obviously, we have a large back catalog of stuff if you want to check it out. Check out our Free Comic Book Day, episode. That's got a lot of stuff that'll lead into some of the stuff we have coming up. And we did
our
other
previous
things.
bonus episode was a tier list of iconic comic book moms.
Right.
That's right. Here, Jay, be really unfair to Lori from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I was a little harsh.
She literally died with her baby in her arms.
Yeah, and then hear us rank a couple characters that are not even mothers because Katie decided to put them on the list.
Oh, The Walking Dead one?
Yeah.
Look, I did a crumb of research, and it turns out, believe it or not, The Walking Dead show, not a one-to-one for the comics.
And also leaving off maybe the most iconic mother from The Walking Dead. Yeah. So it was a good time.
Oops.
One of you called us out about that. Very fair.
Very fair.
But as always, we hope to see you next week. Comic Geeks.